Hey guys, so it's not the usual devlog that you've come to expect here, but I am out of my office this week on a work trip, so we get to do a Q&A devlog. I asked you guys for some questions and you guys did not disappoint, so let's get directly into it. What did you want to be when you grow up? I wanted to be an astronaut. But 8 years of college kind of put a damper on that, so that killed that idea pretty quick. I did have an imaginary friend though, growing up. His name was Cheesebox, and he was an astronaut instead. Did you have any do you have any plans on expanding your team at some point? If I can afford them, yes. Right now I can't. So no. Have you Have you thought of plans giving the Worm Boss a new original set of sprites since it's been a while since you made the boss? Yes, but right now at the moment the sprite is kind of like good enough, and I'd rather spend that art effort on more new stuff. I do have a new sprite for the Queen of the Underworld, and I definitely want to get that in game because it looks a lot better than the one that's currently used in the cutscene. What are your feelings on fuzzy socks? Me, I don't like them. I went to a JROTC military all boys boarding high school, so kind of like military high school. And I learned to love just having one type, one color, one brand of sock. And I hate having to match socks. My chores growing up, I had to do laundry and I hated matching socks. So now I just buy one brand of socks, one color, and every few years I throw them all out and buy a whole ton of the same exact brand and color socks again, so I don't have to worry about it. My wife loves fuzzy socks, so I buy her fuzzy socks at Christmas. So I guess they're okay. Are there any secrets in your game? Tell us. If you're looking for some sort of like Konami code, no, I don't have any yet. I've got ideas though. What inspirations have come to you since you started making Noia, and have some of them become a bigger influence? Um, the idea to start the player off dead was a big inspiration from a PlayStation 2 game called Odin Sphere. Some of the characters start off in the underworld in that game. Amazing game. If you haven't played it, I think it's out for like the PS4, PS5. Odin Sphere, I can't pronounce. They tacked on some like Nordish word, Lefrentherzer or something like that to it. Great game. Go play it. Does your hotel have a snazzy view? It does. I have a view of the restaurant in the middle of the hotel. There's actually no sky. There are hanging like lights and chandeliers from the ceiling. And it's like a big square that everybody can look down into the restaurant. Any plans to upload your devlogs outside of YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, etc.? I have a Twitter and like Facebook account, although I'm not super huge into social media. I definitely understand like the business reason why someone would have that, and I should probably look into like a bot or something that I can post to all those sites at the same time. TikTok, I don't know. That's kind of like in the YouTube shorts sort of thing. I don't know if there's a huge devlog scene in TikTok. If there is, let me know. Did you see a dog today? Yes, I saw my neighbor walking his pit bull when I left for the airport this morning. Have you ever considered a midweek Q&A to help fill the gap between Noia devlogs? So right now, Noia devlogs are every 2 weeks, and if I was to try and put a Q&A in between all of that, I would probably go insane. Most people have already told me that trying to force out a devlog every 2 weeks is already insanity. They might be right. Have you seen the new episode of the Amazing Digital Circus? Yes. Justice for Gummy Goo. Are there any pop culture references in your game? And if no, do you plan on adding any? Yes, and more to come. Right now, there's the three Casta trees off the top of my head, the Klaatu, Barata, and Nikto. Although I got their reference wrong. I thought they originated in the Army of Darkness movie, but no, they originated in a previous movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still. How long do you see yourself supporting Noia? I want to say 10 years. I think if an MMO can stand the test of time for 10 years, that would be like, that's bonkers to me. So if I could go 10 years, um, that's the answer. Apple juice or orange juice? Orange juice. How long do you think Noia will be in alpha for? A rough estimate, if you will. So I did take a look into the roadmap that I have for Noia, and I found a better way of doing some things. So right now, rough estimate, 2 to 3 years, maybe less. We'll see. Favorite Pokemon starter? I never I never played any Pokemon games growing up. I'm sorry. But my son loves Bulbasaur, so Bulbasaur. When will you come home from the gas station with your milk and cigarettes? What do you mean? I'm right behind you. Any sneak peek on dumb cash shop items that you want to put in? Maybe something super expensive for laughs? Probably not super expensive. The whole idea that I have for Noia in the cash shop is to keep everything at like $2.50 for cosmetics and maybe $5 for a pet. I would love for everything to be at 250, but it really depends on how the payment processor works. Pretty much every MMO doesn't actually handle credit card processing or money processing or anything like that. That gets handled through a third party. And like PayPal, for instance, takes a percentage off the top. So if you only give someone $1 out of PayPal, they only see like 20 cents of that because of processing fees and stuff like that. So they might have minimums. We'll see. We'll find out. But personally, I want to keep everything around under $5. Least favorite game in terms of gameplay is a game for Xbox. It's called Metal Dungeon. I bought it when I was a kid purely because of the box art. It looked really cool. It was a glorified procedural dungeon generator with automatic turn-based combat. So you didn't really actually play a game. If that sounds bad, it's because it was. What advice can you give to a new developer and how to start from zero? Okay. I can't give advice necessarily, but I can tell you what I did, and that is to replicate other people's success. I started off with Minecraft Java modding back in Minecraft 1.7 and 1.8. And I would go to other modding dev GitHubs, and if they were doing something that I really liked, I would look through their GitHub and figure out how they did it. And if I couldn't figure it out, I would just ask them, whether on Discord or in a forum or what have you, to find out how to contact them. And I never once had a dev that was not more than willing to show me how things worked. So just do that. Go find out what you want to do. Find someone who's already done it. Learn from them. Then add your spin on it and make it your own. That's how I learned from UMMO. I purchased UMMO RPG 2D and I ripped it apart for like a year and a half and learned how it worked under the hood. That is how I learned C#. I knew nothing about C# before Noia. What would you have for breakfast? Toast or bagel? Garlic bagel with cream cheese, toasted. Great progress has been made, and it seems you are more than capable of making this game yourself. Thank you. But with the sheer scale of an MMO, with all the different maps, dungeons, and bosses required, how do you plan to tackle this alone? To take a game to full completion would take one man 10 years. I don't think so. Um, so I, at the very beginning of this, scoped it out that I would probably take roughly 5 years to get to release, and I'm still what I feel like on track with that. Um, Most people just see MMO and immediately think, oh, it has to be a team of hundreds of players or hundreds of devs that have to develop this, and only AAA studios can ever make an MMO. It's not true. It's not true. There are lots of MMOs out there that are made by either really small teams or, in the case of Fantasy Online, one single person. So it's definitely possible. Please rank in the order of coolest to least cool. Shall, past Dane, future Dane. Oh, I'm sorry. Please rank in the following order from the least cool to most cool. Sorry, the coolest to least cool. Past, present, future Dane, and shall. Okay. So in the order of most cool to least cool. Shall, present Dane, future Dane, past Dane. Shall can do no wrong. Present Dane gets everything done. Future Dane gets absolutely nothing done. He sucks. And worst of all, it's all past Dane's fault. How many teeth do you have? 32. Wisdom teeth included. Do you believe you will ever add more classes, such as unlocking specific parts of a skill tree or giving you a special ability? Or maybe even adding separate races the same way D&D does? Races, no. Programmatically speaking, the way Noia is set up, races would be very difficult to implement. That's kind of why I created the candies sort of thing, where you can eat a candy and get a buff and turn into a different race with certain skills. That's what that aims to kind of fill that gap. As far as like unlockable weapon classes and skills, yes, that's actually already in the game. I just need to make use of that functionality. Do you ever plan on adding an extra arm? No. 2 arms, maybe, but just 1 extra would probably make it hard to sleep. You'd be like off balance or something. Will PvP ever return, or did the opening day remind you of why PvP is bad? So, little history here. This is a question from Olek. Olek spent the entirety of the opening alpha day killing everybody in the starting area because PvP was accidentally left on. UMMO comes with a PvP option, but no balancing, so you can basically one-shot anybody immediately, and that's what he was doing to teach me a lesson. The short answer of would I ever allow PvP is no, and the long answer is because PvP is an absolute nightmare to balance. There might be like competitions or leaderboards or little mini games, but no direct PvP. Will you have my babies? No. I'm married, and my wife loves me very much. Top 3 video games ever. Legend of Dragoon, Chrono Trigger, EverQuest 2 up to the Rise of Kunark expansion. What advice would you give to an indie developer that is looking to market their game? This technique goes by many names, but the best one that I've heard of it is called working out loud, and that's kind of what I do with my devlogs. The best way that I personally, you're asking me personally here, the best way that I think you could market your game is to include your audience in on the development of that game, which is what the devlogs here for Noia aim to achieve. You are all in on the development of the game from start to finish, and your feedback shapes the game as it's being developed. What more could you possibly ask for than to include your player base on the development of your game? Of course, that's great marketing. Do that. What did you like best about Fantasy Online? So, Fantasy Online is the game that Noia is aiming to be the spiritual successor of. It was a browser based game that was incredibly, I think it was like, if Noia is 16 by 16 sprite graphics, Fantasy Online was like 8 by 8. Very, very basic. The combat was like there were no skill, like there were skills, but there was no animations or everything, or there were zero animations whatsoever other than walking. You would click on a monster, you'd click on it again to start attacking. You could click skills in your hotbar, but there was no feedback other than a slightly bigger number appearing above the monster. What I most loved about it was that simplicity and the fact that I could play it in the browser while I was at work taking phone calls. Being able to have an MMO that readily accessible was mind-blowing to me. What would make you consider Noia successful? 1,000 concurrent players. If I could get 1,000 people on average online at any given point in time, that would be incredible to me. Right now, as far as I understand, UMMO and Mirror can handle like 500 concurrent players per server, and I can break out each individual map to a different server if I need to, so I could spread that concurrent player base across multiple servers to make that possible. So that's it. 1,000 concurrent players. When would you consider Noia complete? So there is a storyline. I have a beginning, middle, end, and epilogue, if I want to call it that. To put this in perspective, I think a lot of games and MMOs in particular, being like live service games, overstay their welcome. And I understand why, because it's a business and you want to keep making money on your game. But story-wise, to give you an example, MapleStory had a big, bad, evil guy that they hyped up for like 10 years straight. And when the players finally got the ability to fight this big bad boss and they finally managed to kill him, it was this great thing. You saved the world. And then they immediately jumped into the next storyline and they tried to be like, oh, but there's this new big bad boss. And it was just like, who's this guy? Like, you've been hyping up this dude for 10 years. Now you're just throwing this dude out. Like, I don't care about him. So, like I said, I have a beginning, middle, end, and epilogue. And I think past that, we'll have to see. But that's after the epilogue, I would call Noia complete. Favorite animal or breed of that animal? Dog and Great Dane. When I was a kid, we had a little Cocker Spaniel named Muffin. She passed away, and a family moved down the street who had a full-sized Great Dane. And my dad took one look at that dog and went, give. And so the next day we went and adopted a Great Dane puppy, and his name was Homer. And if you look at a Great Dane, usually they're like 140, 160 pounds. Homer was not a show dog. Homer was a tank. He was 185 pounds, just absolute beefcake of a dog. So, would recommend. Get a big old doofy Great Dane dog. What dev-related milestone are you most excited to eventually get to? Finishing one half of the world map. Right now, Noia is split into two main continents. Getting one of those continents completely full with content is kind of where I'm placing my little go live flag, or at least, move into beta and then go live, and then I will add more maps to the next continent as things progress. Any particular system or idea that you are saving for down the road? Yes, lots. But one in particular is player housing. I already know how I'm going to do it in code. It's just a matter of implementing it. But then again, that's also more artwork for like furniture and trophies and stuff like that. So that's why we haven't done it yet. Would you ever consider working on Noia full time if it were financially viable to do so? Absolutely. If I could look into the future and I could see that the game would provide for my family for like 4 to 5 years reliably, no questions asked. But as of right now, it's not that certain of a future, so I can't. But if it was, absolutely. How did you get the shadow shader to work for your individual sprites? Look up the YouTuber Taro Dev. He has a specific video exactly on how to do it with the URP shader pipeline. Do you ever plan on hiring an artist to work on the game along with you, recreating assets, characters, and whatnot? So right now I have Mao and a couple of other artists in the community that we work together with, whether that be Netherfang or Mr. Fox or Hidden Rachel. There's a bunch, but primarily Mao, and he works on an hourly basis. I would absolutely love to hire Mao full time. I just don't have the capital to do that. I only have my salary from work, so I can only pay him so much per month. If I had the ability to hire him full time without fail, I would, and I'm pretty sure he would absolutely take it. Do you have any plans of rewriting lore you've previously written to improve it after learning about what you've learned about would you rewrite lore knowing now what you know about writing? Um like I said, I have a beginning, middle, end, and epilogue. There's a whole lot missing from the middle. So it's not that I would rewrite anything, it's more like there's a ton that's not written yet. There are lots of suggestions given in the lore area characters channel. Have you begun coding any of those ideas yet? No, not really. Usually I only code something once I have the need for it. But in most cases, if someone suggests something, if I don't think it's right for the game, I'll tell you immediately. If I like it, I usually tell you, but I just don't implement it immediately. I hope that makes sense. What is the next exciting event that you're looking forward to? Me personally, I'm looking forward to a specific book to come out. Dungeon Crawler Carl Volume 7. Amazing book series. Go read it. Specifically get the audiobooks because they're read by voice actors and not just dudes reading books. What vegetables did you eat today? Broccoli from Panda Express. Favorite memory from the past 2 years of No Zero Day development? I think getting the telegraphed attacks, like the orange little attack hit markers working or the blue charge attack markers working, is probably the moment where I kind of like went, wait a minute, this feels like a game now, like a real game. I have a game. That was kind of like the shoe drop moment. So that's probably my favorite memory. What keeps you going? Spite. Kind of serious though. There's when I first started off, I understood that a whole bunch of people in like programming subreddits and stuff like that would go, I'm gonna make an MMO. And of course everybody'd be like, good for you, buddy, we'll see you when you get there. And and you never hear from him again. Or just other devlogs on YouTube who go for like a year or two and then just drop dead and silent. Sometimes, there's absolutely valid reasons for it, and other times they just get discouraged or what have you and drop off. And I don't want to be that negative statistic. I want to be the positive statistic that actually gets it right and actually accomplishes it. So, spite. Favorite thing to program? Yes, programming is what I like doing. Between like writing quests, dialogue, placing NPCs, art, programming is what I like doing. Like coming up with that concept of player housing or coming up with loot share algorithms and stuff like that. That's what puts gas in my tank, programming. What are you really proud of? There's lots of pieces of Noia that I'm proud of, but what makes me the most proud is when I finish something and it looks professional, like it's nice and it's tabulated and it's not full of frivolous code calls and stuff like that, and it's nice and commented so I could just read through and know exactly why I did what I did. So good, clean, professional looking code is when I feel the most proud of my work. What did you find harder? What do you find harder than you thought it would be in this project? Art, 100%. It was a hard lesson learned that my brain does not do art. Like I said, writing code, I can do that 30 out of 24 hours in a day. And Mao can draw art 30 out of 24 hours a day. I can draw art for one, and I am burnt out. And I'm pretty sure it goes the opposite way for him in code. And that's okay. Like, some people are just wired differently. I'm not wired for art. Like, you can give me a concept and I'll code it for you. Like, no problem. You can't give me a concept, I can't draw it. It does not work that way. So learning that was kind of a hard lesson. What is your favorite NPC that you've implemented either temporarily or permanently? Right now, Penny Pocket, but I have a few NPCs down the road that I'm hoping to rip your heart out with their storylines. So we'll see. How much time do you try to allocate to working on the game each day? So allocate is a strong word here. I wouldn't use that because Noia is a hobby for me, even to this day, 2 years going. I work on Noia whenever I have free time. Sometimes I use that free time to play other games, but for the most part, for these last 2 years straight, anytime I have downtime, I'm working on Noia. It's what I like doing. How difficult or easy is it to work with UMMO when you try to add something that's not already part of the base UMMO package? So UMMO is a basic foundational framework for building an MMO. It comes with like health, basic attacks, login, and database. Anything else that you want onto it, you have to make it yourself. So it's really set up to accept like add-ons and stuff like that. And there's a whole community of people that make add-ons that'll go onto it, like different loot systems, different player classes, or like an auction house, for example. But like bosses, instances, different boss attacks, and stuff like that. That's all stuff that I had to make on top of it and modify like the core of UMMO. But UMMO comes with the base code all all out in the open. It's really easy. You have to also understand that I came from a Java Minecraft mod background where any single time you wanted the client to talk to the Minecraft server, you had to create custom packet handlers to handle that back and forth. With UMMO, it's like the check of a box. It's like one line of code to send a command to the server. It's stupid easy. So for me, it's like a night and day difference. It's great. If you could start over again, what would you change? In terms of technical and programming stuff, not a whole lot. There's not a lot that I've had to go back and fix that past Dane made. So I guess he's okay. But in terms of like the marketing side, I've learned a lot more about what moves better in the YouTube space. So I would probably give my younger self pointers on how to be more upbeat, how to create audio compressors in OBS, stuff like that. How are you doing right now? Are you still feeling motivated, or can you not wait to be done with it? So, like I said, Noia is a hobby, and I've had an absolute blast the last 2 years working with you guys, working with Mao and Netherfang and Mr. Fox and everybody else who's contributed art to Noia. It's been great. So I don't see myself slowing down anytime soon. Sure, there's days where I don't necessarily feel motivated to write code. That's okay. A lot of people see the whole no 0 day thing and they go, "Oh, you're writing code every single day?" No, I'm working on the game every single day. And there's a huge difference. You don't have to write code. You just do something to move your game forward. Whether that's look for a song, look for a sprite, look up a concept, watch other game devs to see how they do things. Hell, there were days that I spent just, I went for a walk and I listened to podcasts on how to write character developing like story arcs. And that's it. That's all I did that day. So again, it's not all about writing code every single day. It's about pushing your game forward every day. You're the only one who's making the game. Somebody's got to find that piece of music. Somebody's got to write that character's backstory. Somebody's got to write that little piece of code. Somebody's got to draw that little sprite. That's you. No single point of that game is the most important. You got to do all of it. So some days you can take the small stuff. And then when you have gas in the tank, do some of the bigger stuff later. It's fine. Just do something and push your game forward. So that's it. That's the last question. So I guess I gotta get back to work now. So I'll see you guys next time.